Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Today is Symfony's day 1 in DDCDP 23, and I'm really excited about this part of the course. Symfony is a very powerful framework, and we will be knowing a lot of things about it. So the topics we will be covering today are we'll start with the introduction to Symfony, and then we'll install it using DDEV. Then moving on towards Symfony, we will study the controllers and routes. Something called Symfony Flex, which provides actually aliases for packages, composer packages, and the recipe system in Symfony. Then we will move on to installing Twig, the Symfony templating language. Those of you who had joined us for custom MVC framework, which we had built prior to this course, so we had done the same in that course as well. So it's a kind of a repetition, but we do need it for the Symfony course as well. So we will have some insight into how Twig functions, and then we will install the Symfony debug package, which will help us install profiler also, which gives insight into server requests or page loads of Symfony. We'll also study services container, Autowirable services, and we'll also create our own service. We'll also study asset mapper bundle, which actually lets us use JavaScript, CSS, and any other static resources in our site. And then we will also configure Tailwind CSS for our project. There is a lot to cover, so let's dive in. Symfony.com, this is the official website of Symfony. So Symfony is a set of reusable PHP components and a PHP framework for web projects. It was released in 2005, I think. It is one of the most powerful PHP based frameworks. In fact, if you Google about Symfony, so you will see a lot of even such articles, Laravel versus Symfony and Symfony versus Laravel. So you can choose any of those, but the reason we have chosen Symfony is because this is something which Drupal is part of. Drupal is based upon some of the components of Symfony, and if you browse some components are small applications, you can say. So these are a lot of them. You can read about them. One of them is var dumper. So component basically is a functionality which you can just download from Symfony and use it in your application. Also this Symfony application is basically a PHP framework for web projects. So you can create enterprise grade applications in PHP using Symfony. And the way we will go through in this course is, first we'll get into the basics of Symfony, and then we will be building any e-commerce site in Symfony using Symfony. The DDCDP course, if you have been following, it has one of the courses as a custom PHP framework. So most of the topics we will be studying, basically you will have a glimpse of that framework we built. So if you are a new student, you can go through those videos as well. It will make your Symfony life easier. So let us start with documentation, and you can go to setup and installation. Here you can follow all these steps to install Symfony, but we will go through an easier way of installing Symfony, because we have been using something called DDEV. So pertaining to your own operating system, you can check these docs from Symfony and install it. For example, if you are on Windows or Linux or Mac, you can install it. There is a binary, Symfony binary as well, but we will use DDEV to install it. And because we have been using DDEV for our PHP projects as well as for the custom MVC framework we had built, so we will continue with that. If I search DDEV CMS quick start, this is the page on the DDEV documentation. Let me zoom it in, and I just search for Symfony. So you can quickly jump to the Symfony section. Here there are 3 ways of installing the Symfony framework locally, but we will use the center one, which is Symfony CLI. The Symfony docs also recommends using Symfony CLI. Symfony CLI is an application which gets installed in your machine, and then you can use Symfony related commands on your terminal, text terminal. So we'll go with that. DDEV config, maybe my DDEV is a bit older version, so we will use the normal PHP version, and the doc root should be public. So let us start. I'll go to, I already have 2 separate installation of Symfony. Now we will create a third one, Symfony 3, and I will open it in the terminal. Maybe I need to zoom a lot of it so that you can see it. Okay, so here the first line is make directory. So we already have created the directory, and we have even moved to that directory, so this is now not needed. Then we will start a DDEV application for PHP. We won't do this one, but let me just quickly run this command, DDEV config. So DDEV config, and one thing I will say it again, if you have updated DDEV, so you can just run this command which I just highlighted. But since my DDEV, and I am sorry for that, DDEV is a bit older, I should have updated it, but maybe to just save time, so I will just run DDEV config for now. If I go to command prompt and run this, so it will ask me for this. The project name is Symfony 3, is fine, and the doc root should be public, and you can even learn about it from here. So the doc root is public. And then which types of PHP is default, because my DDEV is outdated, that's why I don't see Symfony here. But if you are running, if you have an updated DDEV, you will have the Symfony option here as well. But for now I will just make it, because Symfony itself is PHP, so I will make it PHP, and that's it. You may now run DDEV start, so I will run DDEV start. Let us go back to this one. Okay, after DDEV start, we will copy this command, DDEV exec Symfony check requirements. So if you are on your own non-Docker based environments on your laptops or operating system, so you need to run this command, Symfony check requirements, so that you will know if Symfony can be installed on your so if I just run this, hopefully, and this green message shows that your system is ready to run Symfony projects. So the next thing is DDEV exec, because DDEV by itself is Docker based, so we can run DDEV exec to run these commands. But if you are on your operating system, you can directly run these commands, Symfony new and all these, right? So DDEV exec Symfony new temp this. And one thing we have to skip from here, dash dash web app, because this is a pre-built version. It will download a lot of stuff which we don't need for now, and also we need to learn a lot about Symfony. That's why we'll use this command without it. And probably the latest version of Symfony 7.2. If I check download, and by the way, you can learn all those steps here. I think it is 7.2, so we will use 7.2. Okay, let us quickly Google current version of Symfony framework, and it is stable is 7.2, so we will use 7.2 here rather than this. Maybe this the docs are a bit older, so we will use 7. This, and we will skip the dash dash web app flag, and we will change it to 7.2, so it will just install the download us the latest version. DDEV exec Symfony new temp, this. What's the next step? We'll use this one, and then DDEV launch. Your project is now ready in this var www html and temp. Now you have to move it outside of the temp directly into the HTML. So for this, the command is this DDEV exec and enter. So now it would have moved all the files from temp into the root var www html, right? And this, by the way, is the Docker path, right? The DDEV path, not the, we are inside the Symfony 3 in our operating system, but this is the internal path for Docker. Okay, so now the next command is, we will just DDEV launch, and hopefully it will open the DDEV launch. And congratulations, you are seeing installed version of Symfony for the first time, and the version is 7.22 version, right? I can zoom it in. Okay, so once you install Symfony for the first time, you will be prompt, if you go to the home page of your site, this is the URL of it, so you will land up on this page, right? You can read the documentation. These are just the links from the Symfony books also. So let us start learning more about Symfony now. Once it is installed, we can play with it. First thing, I will open the project in VS Code. So new file, open folder, and I will go to documents and then Symfony 3, open, that's it. Okay, let us go through the folder structure. This, ignore this folder because this is DDEV related, so you should not be going into it. Then the bin has just one file console, and this is used to run command on the terminal. So bin folder is basically used to run console commands, right? So this is also going to be something which you are not going to touch. Then the config directory. This is maybe if you need to and by the way, you should know what config directory should have from your own MVC framework. So config has a lot of settings for various bundles or something like that in Symfony, and mostly for start at least you won't do a lot of things with, but in case you need to change things, you can do that inside the config files. Then there is the public directory, and this is the publicly accessible directory, and you should know it from your MVC application which we built before Symfony. So all your publicly accessible code should be inside this directory, and right now this is just index.php. Mostly you won't need to add anything to this directory, and I will show you why. But at least if you need to do something, you can have things put in the public directory, and this is a security measure basically. Okay, just like we had source directory in our own MVC framework we had built, there is a source directory, and mostly like 99.9% you will be adding all the code in your source directory, right? Then there is a var directory as well. We also don't need to do a lot of things with the var directory. It is used for logs or caching, something like that. And then the vendor, what is vendor directory?
For autoloader.
For autoloaders, as well as if you download packages from Composer, so all of those are saved in vendor. So here again you won't have to do anything manually. If you require something, Composer requires, so all of those will automatically be downloaded for you, right? Then what could be the purpose of .env file? Anybody?
Environmental.
Exactly. So we had studied about it also in our MSc. So all the settings, for example, anything, it will have, you can add those to these env files, and we can have different env files per environment. So for example, this one could be used for env.dev, so it can catch up or extract settings from this file if the environment is dev, and similarly right now the environment is dev, but if we change it to prod, so it will be prod and something like this. Okay, the .git ignore is we had studied about git ignore files probably or not, but it is related to ignores, so that git doesn't add those files to the repo. So all of these files here are ignored by git here. And then we have composer.json file. It will have all the files related to whatever we needed from Composer dependencies and all. So for example, if I open composer.json, it will, the require has all the stuff we need for this application. And the composer.log is also associated with composer files, and similarly symfony.log is kind of Symfony related packages. So we don't need to touch any of these. The only directory which is of concern is this source directory most of the times, and maybe at times we need to change the config settings, right? So these are the two directories where we will have to make certain changes, but mostly just the source directory. Okay, the first thing we should do is, for example, I have to create a page with some content. I have to create a page with some content. So what could be the steps I need to go through? Anybody?
We have to create a controller, and inside that controller we have to create a class and method, and after that we have to create a root for that, and we can access it inside the browser.
Very good. So the same steps we need to go through. So for example, I am in the controller. This is good practice to have your controllers inside the controller directory. So they are Symfony has created this folder for us, and in a while we will know how it has done it. But for now, I will just create a new file and I will call it hello controller.php. Okay, and this is also a customary thing to use the controller suffix with the controller, so that you know it is a controller. So the first thing is going to be php, and the namespace should be app/controller, right? And then the class is hello controller. For now it should be like this, and here what do we need? An action, right? So public function, what we can call it, welcome, right? Public function welcome. Okay, but this function should be run once a route is accessed, right? For that we can we had a separate file, if you remember, but in Symfony, thanks to this is known as attributes in PHP. You can go through attributes in PHP, and let me go to the documentation of attributes.
We have used it inside the doctrine.
Yeah,
Attributes.
exactly. So you can go through how to use PHP attributes and all this. So for example, something like this, hash and then the attribute value. So if you want to make any function or method a route, so how can you do it? It should be hash this, then route. And by the way, I have installed the Symfony extension for VS Code, so you can quickly get to this. But or if I can use this, okay, and here we have to use the route, use Symfony that's it. So you have to use this component from Symfony. Symfony basically is a combination of various components. So this one is Symfony component routing attribute route, and here you then have to, so for example, it should be /welcome, right?
Yes.
Okay, so attributes are used for metadata in PHP. So this line of code provides just an information about this method, and that information is that /welcome. This is now a route. Previously in our application we had created a separate page, but here you just need to write route and / whatever is the path, and the function will act as the action for it. Got it? So here what we can do is return new. What should be returned? Response. And it is we can use it also Symfony /component /HTTP foundation and response. right? And here this is the response, and we will use welcome to the world of Symfony, right? So now if we access slash welcome, what do you expect?
Welcome to the world of Symfony.
Welcome to the world of Symfony. Let us try if it is working. Slash welcome, and welcome to the world of Symfony. So as I said, Symfony is a framework. If you remember from your own framework which we were building, there was a lot to do to just achieve this thing. But now what we will do, if you have to create a route, you will just use this route syntax, that's it, and this some method afterwards, right? Is this clear?
Yes.
If I have to create another one, public function about, for example, so the about should return, we'll just quickly copy this one, this is about Symfony, clear?
Yes.
But one thing is missing. What is that?
Route.
This route.
Yes.
So we will change it to about, and now if you go to slash about, what are you expecting? This is about Symfony.
About Symfony.
This is clear?
It should be just above the method.
Exactly, above the method.
The action.
The action should be, the attribute should be above the action method.
So the route will behave according to the method or action.
Yes. Basically, just you need to write the attribute, and that the preceding method will become the function which will be called against that route.
Yes.
Okay, there is a command now. Okay, one more thing, Symfony binary, which the documentation discusses. Basically, if you are not using Docker based environments, for example, this is what you should install Symfony CLI. This is Symfony binary or CLI, right? So it already has been installed for us by DDEV. So here we can run the Symfony based commands here. So DDEV will use exec bin slash console and debug router or route. Okay, so you can see now, right now there are, so by the time over the time you can have a lot of routes in your application, and if you want to know about those routes in your application, maybe you have lost the track of them. So what you can do is you can run this command, and if you are on your own operating system, you can just use bin console debug router, right? But since we are using DDEV, so we will use DDEV exec bin console debug router. So it will show you, this one basically is by default, we don't need to touch it, but these are the two, these two are the ones we have created. Okay?
It is only for debugging the router.
Yeah, debugging means to it will give you information about the route, the routes created in the site, right? Okay, you can notice this is name. The name attribute is app hello welcome. App hello. So let us diagnose this. App is the app source directory, and then the hello means hello is the controller,
Yes.
and welcome is the
Action.
so Symfony by default creates a name for your routes, and it has a value as well. It has some advantages, but you can create your own names also for routes, right? So for example, if I just use this is welcome, in the route we can have name as welcome route. Like this. So if I refresh the page, sorry, if I reissue the command, so you can see now you have your custom name.
Yes, sir.
So any route can have a name also, and name should be unique. Got it?
Yes, sir.
So if you don't provide a name in your routes, Symfony will create automatically a name for it, just like in this sequence, the app and then the name of the controller and the name of the method. But if you give it its your own name, then it will appear as it is. Is this clear?
Yes.
Okay. If you remember, we had in one of the classes in the custom MVC framework we had created, we had a key for method also. Remember? So a route can be get or post.
Yes, sir.
So here as well, if we just use method, for example, post, rather this is get, and okay, it is methods actually. What does it have? No name parameter method. Let me just check. It is methods. You can have more than one. So what are your guesses?
The method will be good.
Okay. So you can see this is get now. It's actually methods, not method. But you can have more than one type also, get or post or something like this. So then in that case you will have to apply it as an array.
Yes, sir.
But is it clear now? The method is now get, right?
Yes.
So you can use the scheme and host also, but we are not going to touch it for now. So any route, if it is a get method, it will be matched against this path. Hope this is clear.
Yes.
Okay, now if I pass, for example, something in the it can be a dynamic value. There can be a dynamic value also to welcome. So welcome slash this, if you remember. So just like we had created something like this in our own application. Now if we, for example, pass name, this is a variable.
Yes, sir.
So it will be available in the method as name. And for example, if it is going to be a string, it should only be a string name, right? So then this variable is available here, so we can use it somewhere. Name, is this okay or
Yes.
double? So we can use the parameter inside this method. So if we now pass welcome slash Azmat, sorry, this should be Azmat. Is this clear?
Yes.
So you don't have to do anything, or everything is set up for you. You just have to use it. That's what a framework does for you. Is this clear? So you can have dynamic values inside the routes as well, and then that the same variable becomes available inside this. Okay. For example, if let us create another one, and we will call it multiply, right? So return new response, the result is, and we need to pass two variables to it. So and whatever are passed, those numbers will be multiplied.
Yes.
Right? So we can have int a and int $b, right? And here we can pass result equals what? A multiplied by $b, right? And then we will use it here, but how to create a route for it. Right now it is just multiply, but the route is not there. So we'll just copy the route for now and place it here so that it becomes this route. So multiply, and I now want to have two optional values.
Yes, sir.
Slash 1, it is going to be what? A, and the second one should be B. Is this clear?
Yes,
So now the route is a dynamic one, multiply A slash B.
yes, sir.
So whatever is passed to this function, the multiply, it will be multiplied, and then, so if you try multiply slash 3 slash 10, so what should be the result? 30. The result is 30. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
So you can have dynamic int values also, but there is now a problem. If for example I pass Azmat slash Symfony, so you get to an exception. By the way, the exceptions you also know, exceptional handling we have studied a lot of times. So Symfony provides you a very beautiful interface for exceptions so that you are not disturbed a lot, but still it's a problem here, and the problem is A must be of type int string given.
Yes,
So right now, though we have created a route and it is matched, but the function, if we remove for example this one, these two ints,
yes, sir.
so it will accept it. Maybe the error is something else then. So now it unsupported operand types, what? String cannot be multiplied by string,
Yes, sir.
right? So what does this mean? There is problem with our route, this route.
Yes, sir.
So we should do something so that these are only integers.
Yes, sir.
Only then it will be accepted. So
Regular expression.
exactly. So you can use regular expressions inside
Backslash.
these. So for example, this less than sign, greater than sign, and then D plus. Is it D plus for digits?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And similarly for B we should use backslash. You can have any regular expression here,
Yes, sir.
right? Plus. So now we have made it mandatory upon the route
It should be.
that it should be a number. So even if we access this, it won't allow it because it is not being matched, hopefully. Now no route found for get. This is not,
Yes, sir.
but if we change it to numbers again, 4 multiplied by 7, now it is going as 28.
Yes.
So hopefully just in this small exercise we have covered a lot of stuff. We can restrict routes with certain regular expressions also, and we can access dynamic values inside the function. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Now let us move to the next part of this lecture, and if you can see, we are just returning. If I go to the controllers we have created, one controller, we are just directly returning the response. But Symfony uses a templating language called Twig. So if I go to Twig official website, so this is the Twig templating language, and it claims to be fast, secure, and flexible. It does a lot of things. For example, if we have to echo something in PHP, so its equivalent in Twig is this. We are just outputting the var variable, and it's a very interesting and easy to use templating language, which we use in Drupal also. So let us install this so that the output which we are right now providing via the response, it should be provided via the Twig language. And because we are going to learn a new concept here, In our custom MVC framework, we also had used Twig, and we installed it differently. If you remember, Twig, Symfony, so this is Twig bundle component, and we run composer require Symfony Twig bundle. But Symfony has a system known as Flex. If I go to the composer.json file, initially once we created the Symfony new command, used the Symfony new command, it installed this Symfony Flex for us. So Symfony Flex basically does two things. It creates aliases for popular frame bundles. For example, this is the bundle name Symfony Twig bundle, but it creates an alias, maybe a secondary name, and also it creates something called recipes, which we will know in a while. But because of the flex, we can just use this command, DDEV composer require Twig, rather than anything else. Just Twig will do the rest for us. So this is the alias actually, and we will now see what it does. But before all this, I think we need to right now this directory doesn't have the git initialized. I basically want to go to install git in our directory, so that we can track what changes are made to the repository or code once we run some Symfony command, right? So first let me initialize. If I go to the directory, I'm already here, git init, it will be just initializing the git repository. So if I issue git status, now all of these files are new. If we ignore .dev also, how to do it? We will add it to the git ignore file. .git ignore. So, and similarly, we don't need to, or maybe we. So if I run the git status command again, you can see that file now is, that folder now is ignored. Yes. But we will add the rest of them here. Then composer. So git add this, so it will add everything. Git status will show them in the green, and then git commit -m. I will call it initial commit after creating welcome controller and installing Symfony. Okay, so git status, now everything is clean. If I do anything else to the repository, now it will be shown in red because new files would have been created. Okay, so now let me run the command, DDEV composer require Twig. Remember, I'm not going to use Twig bundle or all. This is an alias now because of the flex system, and it will install multiple collections or elements for us automatically. So if I run this command, you can see running composer. Okay, we can even get something from this prompt. So once I ran this command, DDEV composer required Twig, so you can see running composer update Symfony Twig pack, and then it downloads these things. We would have to use to download all of these individually, composer required, but what this, because of the flex system, it did all of this in once for us. Is this? So if I git status now, so you can see these two files have been changed, composer.json and log. This is normal. When you run some composer command, this file will surely get changed. but it also changed the config bundles.php. Let me just visit the config bundles.php file. As I had told you, we should only partially visit the config bundles. So config bundles.php, this is the file. So bundle basically is a piece of code which we download from Symfony. So all of those bundles are listed here. So right now we have installed the Twig extra bundle and the Twig bundle. So these two are now part of the bundles.php file, right? They have automatically been provided for us, right? Because of that Twig Flex command.
Yes,
And you can see it also has all true, all true, all true. This means all environments: prod, dev, and testing.
testing.
If something is for dev only, for example, so then we will have to use dev,
Yes,
right? Okay, framework bundle is the main core bundle. So all of these three are here. If we had not used Flex, so we would have to make entries here
yes,
ourselves, right? Now the Twig Flex does it for us. Is this clear?
yes.
And you also now you know what this colon class mean, because we had it's the name of the class, right? Okay, the next thing is, the next change in the file is Symfony lock is also normal, and then what else it did was config packages twig.yml. So if we go to config packages, these are the settings for various functionality in the site. So if we go to twig.yml, what should be the Twig file name pattern? It's .twig, and these are, and also this is one of the new addition to Symfony. When add test, when add dev, when add prod, so you can make such entries also.
Yes, sir.
But it actually means when add test, when add environment, right? And the next file which has been changed is, what is templates? So a folder has been created for us. If you remember, we did it manually.
Yes, sir.
So that's what Flex has done. Okay, so here if you go to, this is the templates folder. It has been created for us, and it has a base.html.twig. If you remember, we had done all of this
Yes, sir.
ourselves,
Yes, sir.
but now because we use Flex,
Automatic.
it did it for us. Is this right?
Yes.
So this is main base.html.twig. If I forget to commit the code after any changes in the composer, do let me know, okay? So that we can revert back or whatever. So after every exercise, for example, now we are working on Twig. So once I have done it, I will commit it, okay? Okay, the same principle applies here. If you go to the controller, hello controller, right? And it has how many actions? 3: welcome, about, and multiply, right? So what do you expect? How should we have our templates? Inside the templates folder, we should create a new folder and call it
Yes, sir.
hello, right? So hello means the name of the controller, and then it should have how many separate files? 3: welcome, about, and so every action should be returning a Twig file, right? So it should have, for example, right now for the first one, the welcome one, we are going to create a welcome dot html dot twig, right? And here if I just type welcome to the world of Symfony Twig. By the way, Twig is maintained also by Symfony, so they have a lot of collaboration between the two, right? So okay, this is the code which is right now in welcome.html.twig, right? So if I go to controller, rather than returning the response, this response, what we should do is
Rend.
it should be, okay, one thing I am forgetting, it should be the if I use this colon render, so we don't have a render method right now, but if we extend the class, the controller class, if you remember, we also had done something like this.
Yes, sir, exactly.
So the controller class should extend abstract controller, Symfony bundle abstract controller, this one. So it has used it, Symfony bundle, framework bundle, controller, abstract controller. So it should extend the abstract controller. Any controller should extend the abstract controller so that it can accommodate the render function from the Twig. So what now we need is return new. Rather than return new, you can use this render, right? And the render should have main, sorry, is what it is, welcome dot, so it will be hello slash welcome.html.twig, right? And we can pass it the variables also.
Yes.
So it can be name, right? So name is
so your key it will be in a key value pair form, sir.
Yeah, so it should be
Yes, sir.
an array like this.
Yes.
So render should have this name passed also, so that we can print it there, right? So hello welcome.html.twig, or for now let us do it like this, okay, so that we can know it is rendering it. So if we refresh the page for /welcome, forget Symfony site welcome. Where is welcome? Okay,
So you have to pass a variable also.
exactly, slash azimuth. So it is welcome to the world of Symfony,
Yes, sir.
right? Twig. It is now outputting this value from
Yes, sir, from the Twig file.
Twig file. Is this clear?
Yes.
Okay, but you can see in the templates there is a base.html.twig. So if you go to the view source, it would be just the output, this output. What we need to do is a template should extend a base template.
Base template.
So here at the top of this, and if this is just p tag, maybe we can make it, for example, h2. Let us go stepwise, right? And if we refresh it, so now it is just, if you go to view page source, it is just h2. So we should have all the proper HTML, and to do that we have a base.html file. This is that base.html file. So any Twig can extend
Yes.
some other template, and at the top of it we'll just use this syntax. This is known as
Sometimes.
do something syntax, do something, right? So extends base.html.twig, right? But this is still not enough. If I refresh the page, there will be an error that the block, and if I refresh it, maybe just this. So a template that extends another one cannot include content outside of Twig blocks.
Yes, sir.
So we have to specify the block
Yes,
in
sir.
this child
Block.
Twig file. So if we examine the base.html again, this is base.html. It has a body, and inside the body this is the body tag. That's a body tag, right? And then end block, body block, end block. So this body basically can be replaced by some other tag in the child components, child Twig files. So here in welcome.html, here we will place this inside the Twig body. I think I had the Twig block installed, this one, Twig block function, right? So not block, block. So this is block, that's it. This is the shortcut. You can install the Twig to also extension in the VS Code. So the name should be what? Body. And we will move this inside. Now it will not complain, right? So it should be inside the body tag, body block, sorry, of the base. So if I refresh it, base does not exist. What are we doing?
Put it inside the quotations. Extend.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so now this is the same output which is coming from Twig file, and if we go to page source again, where is it? Page source. So it has all the required HTML.
Yes.
Is this clear?
Yes.
This is what we had done in our custom MAC framework as well. So now we have set up the system for Twig. Okay, we can pass variables also into this template from the controller. So this is hello controller, and if you remember, we had used this variable name, and it should be it is passed to the welcome method, and here we need to pass it to the Twig also. So here comma, we can have name,
Quotations.
name should be what?
Key.
The name. So now this name is should be available in the Twig file,
Yes.
right? So we can catch it here, welcome to the world of Mr., and we can use, okay, this is very interesting. Now here we need to have a dynamic value, for example,
Yes.
right? So in order to have a dynamic value, we will print something, and the print something syntax in Twig is this. So here we will just use name. Just like PHP we echo something, here you have just to use it, and this is known as normally the print something syntax, and this is do something. So if you have set some variables or use loops or whatever, so you should use this one. Otherwise, if you have to print something, you will have to use this.
Yes.
And if you refresh it, so that variable is now passed, and even if we change it, so it's all dynamic. Is it clear?
Yes.
So that's how we are going to have our workflow in this application. We can loop through certain, for example, if I want to have a loop, so it can be done like this for, and let us directly go to the documentation of Twig so that we can quickly go through some. This is the Twig official website, and if we scroll down, And by the way, there is a new thing, Twig playground also now. You can do something like this. You can play with the Twig syntax online. Okay. So if we come down to the docs, you can see there are some tags, but the most important one and the interesting ones are the filters. So for example, one of them is capitalized or maybe uppercase. Where is upper?
Upper.
This one is upper. So for example, if I need to print the name Mr. this name as in the uppercase, so pipe and upper. Just this will make it. If I refresh the page, now it is in uppercase, right? And you can even change the filters. So where is it? If we make it for example, which one we can use with it?
Reverse.
Where is it? Yeah, this one.
Yes.
So if we use reverse also, so we can use another one here, reverse. So now the cricket word will be reversed, right? So you can change the filters. Basically these are PHP functions, but you can easily use them here. Okay, so if you want to go to loop through something, so this is the for. So if I click on for, so it can be an object for user in this user dot this. We will do it. It's all very. Let us do this one. It's a range. So in our Twig, for I in 0 to 10, and then and for.
It is already there.
Yeah, it is there. Sorry. Okay, so for I in 0 to 10, print I.
Yes.
And if you refresh the page, it will print the numbers. So you can do a lot of things. It's very easy. You just need to go to documentation. We should not spend a lot of time on Twig, because if you want to spend some time, it will actually be time consuming, honestly. And you can always go back to the course we had about custom MSC. We have done a lot of Twig stuff there, so you can recap that as well. So is this clear? From now on in this application we will be using Twig. Okay, so whatever we have done, we should commit it now. Git status again, then git add this, git status, and it is green now. Git commit -m after installing Twig, whatever. All right. So we have now committed. If we use git status, so it's now clear. Okay, the next thing, if you remember, in order to dump some variables, we had used this Symfony var dumper. Do you remember it?
Yes, sir.
So we can use this component composer require -dev Symfony var dumper, but because you now know what Flex does for us, it provides us the aliases as well as recipes. Recipes are certain files which we need. Otherwise, we would have to create those files ourselves to set things up. But recipes is a system in Symfony which actually creates those files for us using the Flex. So rather than doing this, we can use one command, and maybe there are more such bundles also which we need. So we will use DDEV composer require debug, just debug, because this is now an alias and it will install a few more libraries also for us. Is this clear? So debug, and you can see running composer debug pack, and it has done a lot of stuff for us. You can see that's it. And if I issue git status now, so you can see some things have changed. And if you go to composer config bundles .php, where is my editor? And this is one of the toughest things for me. Okay, so if I go to config bundles.php, now you can see previously there were 3 or 4 things. Now it has web profiler bundle, monologue bundle, and debug bundle. You can see. So because of Flex system, it has helped us even add these 3 items to the bundles.php, right? And one of them is web profiler. This is one of the powerful things Symfony has, and even it has a module for Drupal also. So if I refresh the page now, if you go to this page and refresh it, so you can see something at the bottom of the screen. Do you know what it should be? It has a lot of information about the Symfony system while it was rendering this page. Okay, so if I go to, you can see, even if you forget, or maybe if you are debugging your application, it will show you controller. So controller is hello controller, welcome, right? If I click on it, okay, the route name is this, has session no, stateless check this. Then we can have other stuff also. This is, let me zoom it out. It gives you an x-ray of what happens in Symfony in a request. Okay, so even it will show you the request and response, what's the route, what's the route parameters, even the parameter is here, its value is this, name is request, headers are these, just like the Chrome debug tool, right? So then if you go to performance, so it even shows you in how much time this page was rendered. So maybe if you have a page which takes a lot of time, you can diagnose that. And even it gives you a graph of all of the things happened, right? Then the logs, we will just check logs in a while. Then the events, remember events we had created. So even it has a lot of these events which are happening in just one request. So by in your Symfony careers, you will have to use the toolbar, this debug toolbar, a lot. And then the routing, so the route is this, and these are other routes, and this one is our route, right? Route matches, it shows you route matches. If there are other routes which Symfony provides and they haven't matched, that's why they are not here. Then the Twig, so which Twig template was rendered for it? So you can see this one, and even the base.html was rendered, even the other ones also, but these 2 are very important for us. And in configuration, Symfony version is this, maintain this. Okay, enable bundles. Any guesses from where is it taking this information?
Bundle.php.
Exactly, well done. All of this information is already there in the bundles.php. So if I ask you what is the profiler used for, so what will be your answer?
It's a debug tool.
Yeah, it's a debugging tool which kind of gives you almost all the information in a page request for X-ray of the page. Okay. even in this is the request, this is the response, these are the cookies sessions, even the flash messages, we'll read about them also at some stage. So you can have a lot of information about. Okay, one more thing, if we go to the bundle again, bundles.php, and you can see the web profiler, it has dev true, test true, but no prod. In other words, it is not all true. Why is it so? This information only should be available to developers who are developing the site. It should not be on the prod environment. Prod means the live environment. But otherwise, hackers can take information from your server and all that, right? Or the configuration. So that's why it is dev is true and test is true, right? How to change this environment into prod? Any guess? So that right now this is this web profiler bundle class, and we have asked it to be only on the dev environment, right?
Yes, sir.
But the whole site right now is in the dev environment, that's why it's showing here.
Yes, sir.
But if we I want to change the this dev to prod, for example, site is ready and now I need to push it to the prod. So what change would I
You have to change the env variable.
Very good. So if I go to the .env file, this is the and I will change app dev to prod.
Yes, sir.
Prod. And if I refresh it now, the page,
It will not be visible.
do you think it will be here?
No, sir.
Welcome/cricket. There is no.
Debugging tool, yes.
Now you should know why these environmental variables are important. And if I change it back to dev and refresh the page, now there is this.
Yes.
Got it? So we have enabled the profiler and it is working well right now. Okay, so the next topic we are going to learn is let us create some links in the Twig files. And I should commit this. So status would make it to green and then git commit -m changes after installing web debugger or profiler, right? Okay. Now we have right now three. This is the welcome one, this is the about one, actions, and this one is multiply one. So if I, for example, we should create two more Twig files. I'll quickly copy these two. One is for and another one is for multiply. About.html.twig and this one is multiply .html.twig. So in about I will just use this code. This is about us page, right? And this one is multiply, so here for now I will just use this is multiply result, and the result should be what? It should be passed two variables, right? And where should we get those? And in the controller, this we need to also, I will just quickly copy this. So in the multiply, return this dot render multiply dot html.tick, and the result is result. Is this clear? So in the this one should be, so how to print it? Double this one result, that's it. And similarly, I think we don't need any variables in it, but we should include the about response as well. So this is about.html.tick, and we don't need any variable right now. Is this clear? So now all of the, if I use multiply 47, so now it is working fine, right? Okay. But for example, I'm on the welcome page and I need to go to about page. Okay, so if I'm on the welcome page, this is the welcome page, and I need to create a link. Let me remove the loop now. So a href equals and so how to go to the about page slash about, that's it. Is this clear? And I also want to go to multiply, so it should be multiply slash 5/3, for example, and we will call it multiply 5 multiply by 3, something like this. Okay, so if I go to welcome, and this is one link about us, it goes to the about us page, and this one goes to the multiply, right? But these are hard coded values. Hard coded means if this route changes, if the path to, for example, let me change it so that you know what I mean. If I go to controller and this is route, right? If I add one more variable to it, for example C also, like this, right? And if I go back to this, so there is an error now. Why? Because it is expecting no route found, because a new variable has been created for it. So there is a solution for this, and that solution is we should name our routes, and based on the names we should be providing the path, right? So for example, if I will for now remove this, and here the second name should be, we already have used the name, so the name should be multiply, right? And if we go to router debug now, remember the command /php exec console router debug router. So this is now the route multiply, and it has these two variables, right? So rather than passing it hard coded like this, in the Twig file where it is the welcome, we had to pass it to this, but we will use the path method in Twig for Symfony. So it will be path like this, and then it will be passed the name of the what? Any guesses? Route. Name of the route. So it will be multiply. Now even still it will give us an error, but at least now our path is related to the name of the route. So if the path to the route changes or whatever, it will take its value from there. So path multiply, and then the second parameter should be, it's a JavaScript like object here, sorry, something like this, and A is 2, B is 3. Let me try if it works. And 6, right? Okay, what we have achieved with this? For example, for some reason, if you had used hard-coded path like this about, and for some reason the route about changes to about us, for example this, so any links, maybe there are hundreds of links in your application, you will have to change those to about us.
Yes, sir.
Right? But now, for example, this is multiply, and if I go to the controller here, I change it to multiply numbers. Notice this thing, multiply numbers. The path now is in the route multiply numbers, right?
Yes, sir.
So if I had hard-coded values in the welcome, I would have changed it to multiply numbers also. But right now, I don't need to worry about that, because I have used the name of the route. Now whatever is path, we have no concern of it. Automatically this path method will output the URL itself. Did you get it?
Yes, sir.
So if you refresh the page, and if I click on this, so you can see it is referring to multiply numbers, and it's still working. But if it was hard-coded, I would have to change the path in the link as well.
Yes.
Got it?
Yes.
So you always use path if you want to refer to some route-based path. Similarly, for example, this is about, and the second link should be, this is about us too, for example, right? And here we also should give the name about to this route, name about, right? So the second link is should be path variable, not the this one. So path, and this is going to be just a about. Okay, and I change the path to the route path to about us. Clear?
Yes.
If I refresh the page, maybe if I go back and then refresh it, okay, so which link will be working and which won't?
The second one will be working.
Exactly, because this one is hard-coded
Yes.
and its path has changed, but the second one is about us now. So if I click on about this one, this is the route not found, about is not found, but the second path is this one, and here it is working.
Yes, sir.
So you should know the difference of creating a route via a link via path function and a normal function and the hard-coded value. Is this clear?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. The next thing is, there is a concept of services in PHP and even in Drupal. So what are services? If you go to Symfony's documentation and search for services, it is a very important concept. Yeah, we can. What should be the message? Added path based links. Okay, so remember the container we had studied in our MVC framework, and it is also called services container. So services is nothing but a class which does something, which does some functionality. Okay, so Symfony is full of classes which are called services. So services is like you can call it functions which does something. All such classes which do something in your application. For example, email. If a class sends an email, it is a service. If a class logs something for you, it's a service. So it's a very easy concept. But if you remember the concept of auto wiring and services container from our MVC framework, all those concepts apply here as well, and we will be trying to do something so that you can understand what we are going to achieve. So there is a command php bin console debug container. So DDEV exec php bin console debug and then container. So these are all the classes. If you remember the services.php file we had created, we had initialized container.php there,
Yes,
and then added various classes to it. So Symfony has all these files. If I zoom it out, so Symfony has got all of these services. These are service ID and class name. So these are the corresponding class names, and these are the IDs. You remember we had an array of services, right?
Yes, sir.
In our application also. So the next thing is, if we want to just use something, this one is basically we are going to target. So the same command and log. So it now shows all the container services with log in it. Okay. Okay. This command php bin console debug auto wiring. So auto wirable services are those. If you remember, we had achieved this also. So if I run this command now, DDEV, not all services are auto wirable in Symfony, but if I issue this command, php bin console debug auto wiring, so now these are all auto wirable services. Auto wirable services, if you remember, those classes in which the controllers, for example, have some parameters, and those parameters should be objects, and they will be initialized automatically. So all of these classes, if they have other parameters as objects, they will also be initialized for you. Remember the concept? Otherwise you can go back to, even you can Google back what auto wiring is. So it has, these are in lesser numbers, but still these are the same services but auto variable, right? And if I issue the same command with a log, now these are the log based services, and one of them is PSR log interface, and this is what I am going to use, right?
Yes.
And its alias or name is monolog.logger, but we need to use this one to log something, for example. So if I go to the controller, this is hello controller and this is the about us, right? Here if I use this statement here, use psr log logger interface, right? So now we can, in the about section, logger interface, because we have included it, and logger. Okay, what are we doing is, in the controller method for this particular route, we are passing the logger interface logger now, and we have included it here to use it. So what Symfony will do is, because this is Autowirable service, it will create instance of this class for us, and it will be available in this method. So if I do logger this, that's what auto wiring is. It will automatically do it for us, and we have done it in our. So if you need to log something, that is done via info, like this, right? So we have accessed the about us page. This is just for information. Logging means to record something for your own information, for example, for some reason. Yeah. So what this will do is, the logger interface, once the about page is accessed, this code will run. And you can notice we have not done something like this, logger equals new this, right? Because it is happening via services container, Autowirable services container, right? So this is the concept actually. So in Symfony, you don't need to do for most of the things. It will automatically be done by Symfony for you to initialize these objects, right? So if I now access the about page, about us page, right? And if we go to this again, logs, let me just, and you can see on this time we have accessed the about us page. It means that code has run, right? Is this clear? So you can have services classes which will be initialized for you by Symfony, and every service class does something. So here it logs the messages. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
If you want to log something, it will be done via this logger interface class. And this is the Autowirable service. Okay, let me just quickly commit this also. Used the logger service to log text in about us action. Okay, now let us have a very brief example of using a service in our own application. It can be a bit complex, but just to save time, I will create a folder in the source directory and call it repository. And inside the repository, I will create a new file and call it student repository. Normally a repository is a data provider class, for example used for queries from the database regarding a particular entity or database table, but here we will make it simple. And namespace, what should be the namespace?
It should be app repositories.
app/repository. And the class should be student repository. Okay, this class should have a public function find student, or maybe get students, all students. Okay, get students, so it should return and maybe we can have a private array and $sign students. This is going to be an array. Let us hard code it. Sorry, I'm clicking a lot of things. So for example, 4 is a student whose name is 4 is a student whose name is Mark, right? 10, this is the one number student is John. In real world it should be from the database, but the 5 number student is Smith. These 3 are fine for now. Okay, so we have a private array and it has 3 keys and the values. So what this public function get student should do, what is this 1 of 1? Okay, here what should this get students return?
Should return the array.
Return this dot students. Is this clear? So it's just a class student repository. In real world it should be some objects. We will study it when we are doing the databases, but just to make you understand what this auto wiring is. So this is just an array and it returns it.
Yes.
Okay, and this student should return it. That's it. And if I have another function get student by id, so what it should do, it should be passed a variable id and then return, what should we return? Students, and the key of it should be id. That's it. So it will now this dot students id. Maybe we have some method for it, but the id will be passed to it. So for example 4 is passed to it, so what should it return? Mark. If 5 is passed, so it should return Smith. That's it. Okay, so normally you have to initialize a PHP class to do something with it, right? So we'll need to initialize this student repository, but a repository normally is also a service in so in the constructor, let us create a new, and what should we create? New method. Maybe just copy these two to save some time. So get student, maybe just get students for now. So what should it do? It should get all the students.
Yes.
Right? Get students and the get students. So we don't need any parameter for it, and we will this dot render we should be get students .html.twig, and we don't need to have
Yes, sir.
any this.
Just small bracket here. Here's inside the package. Inside. Small bracket. Yes.
Thank you. Okay. So now we need to make this twig file, right? Get students.html.twig, and we will just quickly copy the about one, copy and paste, and it is going to be get students.html.twig, right?
Yes.
And here what should we have? The do something syntax for student in students, because it's going to be a for loop, and this is good that we have and for, and we will just output student, right? Okay, maybe some br tag also, so that it is on the next line. The next thing is, from the controllers, what we need to have, we need to pass the students variable also. So students should be $sign students. But now this is the question, how can I get the students variable? It can be $sign students, can be some array which I can create here, but I will have to use the
Yes, sir. The
repository.
one. Yes, sir.
So how can I can use new repository, so where it is, new student repository, right, like this,
Yes.
and then
Yes, sir. We have to call them like
students
get
this
students.
get students,
Yes.
so it will return all the
Yes, sir.
students, and then sorry, maybe we can call it something else, students repo. Okay, so students repo get students, and it should be assigned students equal this. Now we are passing it.
Yes, sir.
It will be working, but is this the right way?
No, sir.
We are initializing the class inside the method. So what should we do?
We have to use a Autowirable.
Exactly. So we will pass the repository here object, and automatically it will be initialized for us because of the auto wiring.
Yes, sir.
So I will comment these lines for now, and here we need to pass student repository, student repository, like this, and it will include it here in the use statement for us, the app repository, student repository, right? So now Symfony container or auto wiring container will automatically create an instance of this for us.
Yes.
We don't need to, that's it.
Yes, sir.
So we can directly assign students variable to student repository and get students, like this. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Hopefully this will be working if we access it's a Symfony 3 dot this, and then what was the get students, what's the
Get students.
get students. So all the three names are being shown.
Yes, sir.
Is this clear? So what's auto wiring, which Symfony does for us? We had to create in our custom MVC, we had to create all this ourselves, if you remember. But here you just need to pass a repository class and because repository is a service and auto variable as well, it will automatically create this
Yes.
instance for us. Is this clear?
Yes.
Probably this is a very good explanation for why we need auto wiring in Symfony. Okay, now I will commit it again. By the way, this was just an example. We will have a detailed one once we are into the databases section. Then git add this and git commit -m example of auto wiring in Symfony. That's it. Okay, to the next topic now, and that is a very interesting one. If you go to the public directory we have, as I said earlier, we have just index.php in it, but if we have to use images and CSS files and all that, so technically, because from only this is accessible, index.php is accessible to the world, the rest of these are just included, or so if we have to use some CSS or image, so what we will do is we will add those to public directory, right?
Yes.
And only then it will be accessible, otherwise not. But Symfony has a very cool system of keeping this directory clean, and it will create something outside this directory and still it will be accessible. And this is done by a component called asset mapper. Symfony asset mapper. So you can see we will have to run this command composer require asset Symfony asset mapper, Symfony asset, and Symfony Twig pack. So we already have done the Twig pack, we need these two. But if I just run asset mapper, let us see if it has a flex section. So DDEV first, composer require asset dash mapper. So it has been installed. It has a corresponding recipe, and as I said, recipes are a collection of files downloaded via the Flex system. So it has downloaded the HTTP client for us, the Symfony asset mapper, and all these. So if I come to the code now, or maybe if I run git status, so it has all these files for us, and it even has created a folder assets, and it has updated the packages, added asset mapper.yml also, and it has also updated the templates base.html.twig. So if you go to this first, base.html.twig, so you can see now import map function has been used, and a folder has been created, the assets, it has styles, so you can add all your CSS here, and an app.js file also.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so all of this has been done by the asset mapper. So assets, all of assets like JavaScript, CSS, they should be put in this folder now, and automatically, and I should say automagically, Symfony will render them.
Yes.
And though they are not in the public directory, but they still will be rendered by the Symfony system. So if you open the app.js file, it imports the app.css file, and it has a console.log file also. If you refresh the page, if I refresh this page for now,
Yes.
you can see the color has changed. Why? Because in the CSS file If I come to styles, app.css, the background color is sky blue.
Yes,
Okay, so it means this CSS file is, had we not used the asset mapper, we would have to add everything to the public directly.
Yes,
Only then it would have been accessible. Okay. The next thing is, if for example I need to add images to the folder, maybe hard coded for now. So one way is to add it to the public directory, but the next way is to add a folder in the assets, and we'll call it images, right? In images we can add, let me just quickly copy some image from, where is the, in the downloads prior to this class I have, for example, this is t-shirt final, and if I go to Symfony 3 assets, images, and I will place it here, this item, right? t-shirt dash final.jpg, and in one of the file, in one of the Twig, maybe in about us. So if I go to the hello controllers folder and then the about.html.twig, here I need to output that image. So image
yes,
is equals and this. Okay. Here, rather than going this way, dot slash, if I go one step back from the public directory, then I will have to enter assets,
yes,
then images, then
t-shirt final.
t-shirt dash final dot this.
JPG.
So t-shirt dash or underscore final dot jpg. Let us try if this is accessible. So if I go to the about page again, about us, this is broken. So dot assets, and then we will have so to go to images. So this is not accessible right now with this, but if I change it to a function, and source is going to be asset, and then I will pass, and we will end up on an error, but at least images slash t-shirt
T-shirt
underscore
final
dot gpg. Okay, so now we have changed it to the asset function. This asset function, if I refresh the page now, it will have an error. About dash s. Okay, we need to enclose it in
Yes, sir.
the print, this one, jpg asset this. So Symfony is very even it's a good teacher for you. Even in the errors you will see. So did you forget to run composer require Symfony asset? Let me zoom it out. Did you forget to run composer require Symfony asset? So just this, to use this method inside the Twig, we need to install one more
Yes, sir.
Symfony component.
Symfony
That's it.
asset.
So if we run this command, composer require Symfony asset.
Terminal.
So
DDEV.
composer require Symfony asset,
Yes.
right? We'll run it, and it will basically provide us the asset method we have. Okay, if I refresh the page, and now that t-shirt is there. Okay, so this is not the normal way of displaying the image, it's via Symfony's asset mapper. And if we go to view source, what was the name of the image?
T-shirt underscore final dot.
Okay, but here it will be different a bit. You can see it has final dash i60jx.jpg. Why is it so? Any guesses?
Yes. T-shirt mapper, asset mapper, due to the asset mapper.
Yeah, because browser has a concept of caching images. So for example, t-shirt dash final dot jpg, if you had not used the asset system from Symfony, it would always be t-shirt dash final dot jpg. So browser caches it. The next time if you upload the image and make it a different image, but the name is the same, though you would have changed the image, but browser will still be showing the old image because the names of the images are the same, though the content has changed. So what Symfony does is it reads the content of the image, and if it is different each time, it will have different random characters. That's why it won't cache the image. If you don't use it, because of the browser's default system of caching images, in that case you would have to clear the browser cache so that the new image is shown, because the name of the image will be the same each time, and browser caches images based on those names. Is this clear?
Yes.
So we have devised a system where we can now add images and they will be run through the Symfony asset mapper system. Also the JavaScript and CSS will be automatically added because it has now been added to the, because of this import map app, the JavaScript as well as the CSS will be added this way. Is this clear?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we need to, and I will commit it first. Okay, the next thing is, you all have we in fact had a class on Tailwind CSS also, so you know what Tailwind CSS is. Right now we need to have a system where we should be having Tailwind CSS because it's very powerful. It has, and for component based designs, and in fact for everything, Tailwind is my way to go. So we can use Bootstrap also, but we will install Tailwind in our theme or in our site so that we can use Tailwind. The shortest possible thing is maybe we can add CDN here, but that's not the way out. We should do it through proper channel, and for that we need to set up Tailwind in our website. Now that's what we are going to do next. So there are some very easy commands which we need to run. Okay, so DDEV composer require Symfony cast. Basically this Symfony cast provide very informative and beautiful Symfony tutorials, so this is something from them and we are thankful to them. Symfony cast / Tailwind dash bundle. So DDEV composer require Symfony cast Tailwind dash bundle. This is the command we need to issue. Okay, so it has been downloaded for us. The next thing is we should initialize it. So DDEV exec php bin / console tailwind build tailwind init. It should initialize Tailwind. So we have set up Tailwind ourselves also. So do you remember what were the steps? Creating Tailwind config.js and something, all that. So this will do that for us. Or maybe if I just wait and just check the git status command, so you can see we have 4 files changed now, but if I run this command, you will see what it has created for us. So it's a php bin console tailwind init pdf exec php bin console tailwind init, just init. So now it is downloading the Tailwind CSS binary for us and all that. So Tailwind CSS is ready to use. So if I git status now, so you can see it has changed the app.css file also. Also, it has created this tailwind.config.js file also. Okay. So if I go to the app.css file now, so you can see these three have already been done for us, right? And also it has added the tailwind.config.js files over. So it will search for assets folder and templates folder for the Tailwind classes, right? The next thing is we need to issue just one last command so that all of this compiles into build. So it is DDEV php bin console again, DDEV php bin console tailwind build, and with the excuse me, -w means watch. So any change future changes will automatically recompile the Tailwind. So if I run this command now, so now you can see it is executing Tailwind, and if I go to maybe app.js now, where it is, if we change, let me add something to the about us. So please tell me about some Tailwind class. S2 class equals 6xl is fine, text dash 65xl, is this fine? And what's the color? Dash red. Okay, so it has done it again, the rebuilding, right? If I refresh the page, hopefully, was it about us page or which one? So you can see the color of the, and it means Tailwind is now working fine. So I will commit this code also, and then okay, again git add all and git commit installed Tailwind CSS
in brackets.
okay. So we did a lot of Symfony today, and probably what we did today is enough for you to build a lot of stuff. And tomorrow we will start with databases, inshallah. So what we covered all the basics of Symfony, routing system, how to create routes and controllers. And then we also used how to download Flex based packages. So we downloaded Profiler. Also we got to know what services are and how to create our own services. We also use the asset mapper system and also set up Tailwind CSS. So there are more interesting things to follow, and see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.